Okay, I'm back. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry I took so long. Issues. And why does it keep doing that? StreamYard's acting up. Anyways, welcome back. We are back with more Nancy coverage. I usually do verticals on Nancy, but I figured today we could just do regular. There's been an update. I guess Savannah made a post. So let's watch that. We'll read a little bit on X, watch a couple of videos. She made an X, I think, or a post on Instagram, I think, while we were live in Epstein. So we'll see what it says. But thank you for being here. Yeah, I know I can't change it now, old eyes. Go ahead and hit the like button. Shout out to you guys for being here. I know we've been covering Nancy like crazy. There hasn't really been, let me look. There's not an update so much as to the investigation, I don't think. Just Savannah's message, but we'll see what it says, what she says and what the online say. So let's pull up Savannah's message.
I wanted to come on and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
Oh, hey, Valerie. What do you guys think? I don't know. I guess let's watch it again.
I wanted to come on and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
I just, this is very odd for me. I just feel like, why would she expect the kidnappers to do the right thing when they haven't paid, right? Like, it's a kidnapping / ransom. Like, I don't know. I mean, I can appreciate that she's staying hopeful and whatnot, but the people listening aren't going to bring her home. Like, they're just not. So I'm a little confused. Do we know for sure they didn't pay? You know what? We don't, Evie. From what TMZ said earlier, which honestly I can't stand TMZ lately, and their involvement in this case is just really like really annoyed me. I don't know for sure, to be honest. Let's watch. TMZ made it sound like nobody has paid. Let's watch Brian Enton's. He did a short earlier, and we'll watch a couple videos by him as well. About the gloves, and then there's a couple of recent segments on Savannah's statement already. So news stations. Let's watch this first. It's like a minute long.
Hey guys, so we just got a new statement from the FBI that is pretty significant. I'm going to read you the full thing. It says, the gloves found approximately 2 miles from the Guthrie residence in a field near the side of the road were packaged up by the Pima County Sheriff's Office and sent overnight on 2/12, and they arrived at their private lab in Florida on 2/13. The FBI received preliminary results yesterday on 2/14 and are awaiting quality control and official confirmation today before putting unknown male profile into CODIS, the national database unique to the Bureau. This process typically takes 24 hours from when the Bureau receives DNA. Now, this is the important part. Investigators collected approximately 16 gloves in various areas near the house. Most of them were searchers' gloves that they discarded in various areas when they searched the vicinity. The one with the DNA profile recovered is different and appears to match the gloves of the subject in the surveillance video. The FBI will continue to provide assistance on whatever timeline is provided to us. Let me read you that line again. The one with the DNA profile recovered is different and appears to match the gloves of the subject in the surveillance video. So, and it's kind of a confusing statement, but the way I read it is the glove that was recovered 2 miles from the Guthrie residence is different and appears to match the subject in the surveillance video. And they're now waiting on the full DNA profile, which could be significant because this is another big piece of the puzzle. If they can get a DNA profile off the glove and it matches the DNA profile in the house, and then they can be swabbing people who they suspect could be involved, this could all start to tie things together.
Yeah, I could agree that there might be an update tomorrow, but Abuelita, I don't know. I feel some type of way about this case. I just feel like it's dragging on and on and on. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully we get an update tomorrow. Let's watch this clip with Harvey. Actually, it's News Nation, and then a Fox one with Harvey.
To discuss this, we have Jennifer Coffendorfer, Mark Reichel on standby here. And this is happening in real time. This was just posted literally moments ago as we're coming on the air. Savannah Guthrie saying roughly, I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say, we still have hope. And we still believe, and I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late and you're not lost or alone. And it's never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe, and we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. It is never too late. We actually have it ready to air right now. Let's take a look in her own words.
I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late.
It is one thing to read the transcripts. It really is another thing to see her. And I'm just struck by the humanity of it, how much she has carried and how hard it has been for this family these last 2 weeks. Jennifer, I want to bring you in first here. What does this video, this specific message, these words tell us about where the investigation stands 2 weeks in, where it stands tonight?
Well, first of all, that's gut-wrenching to hear that and to see and hear the emotion in Savannah's voice and in her face. I think this was well constructed again by the behavioral analysis unit, trying to plead to the humanity of whoever might have her, and then also to send the message to Nancy that, you know, she's waiting. And basically, when I hear a message like that, it's much like what we do when we interview individuals we believe are responsible for a violent crime. We try to tell them, listen, we know you're human, and I can hear that message ringing through here.
Wow. I mean, Mark, what are your thoughts here? I mean, this simple statement sort of reiterated throughout this video that it is never too late to do the right thing, appealing directly to the alleged kidnappers, the apparent abductors. What's going through your mind as we see this video?
Well, I'm following somebody who certainly knows what they're talking about, because I agree exactly with what Jennifer said. One thing I might add from doing this forever is that I think this may not be a lone actor, and Jennifer may know this too. The concept is maybe to peel off, if there's 3 of them sitting around and you know, they're involved in this, to maybe get one of them, to touch one of them with this amazingly powerful appeal, that one of them may think, you know what, why am I with these other 2 or this other person? They don't really, you know, it's time to break off. And it may be successful in that manner. That's a thought I would have. I'd be interested in Jennifer's thought.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation.
I don't know. Is Nancy ever going to be found? I'm trying to stay positive, but it's hard. Okay, let's watch. 𝗲𝗵𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 was on News Nation. This is from an hour ago. Oh, because Jennifer 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Yeah, thank you, Chris. I love Chris too. This is single glove found 2 miles.
This is a Fox News alert. The investigation into Nancy Guthrie's disappearance has now entered its 3rd week, and the case may have caught another break. Hello, everyone. I am Tommy Lahren, along with Joey Jones, Kaylee McGee-White, and Kevin Cork. This is the 2nd hour of the Big Weekend Show. So while authorities still have no suspects or persons of interest, the FBI tells Fox News that it has received preliminary forensic results in the case. Of note, one of the approximately 16 gloves recovered appears to match the gloves of the individual seen on the surveillance video at Guthrie's home the night she disappeared. The FBI says the glove contains a DNA profile, and they are awaiting quality control and confirmation before they put it in their national database. Back with us is Max Gordon, live outside Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson, Arizona. Max, what's the latest?
Hey, Tommy. Well, this glove could be a significant piece of evidence, but at this point, we simply don't know. The glove was found about 2 miles away on the side of the road, and investigators say that it does look similar to the glove that was worn by the suspect who was caught on surveillance camera outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. The glove was sent to a lab in Florida for testing, and according to the FBI, the preliminary results are now in, and they're waiting on official confirmation before putting the unknown male profile into the FBI's DNA database called CODIS. This process typically takes 24 hours from when the FBI receives DNA. Investigators collected about 16 gloves in various areas near the house. Most of them belonged to searchers and had been discarded while looking for Nancy Guthrie. If the FBI does get a DNA hit, it could help identify the suspect. But the operative word here is could. Here he's seen on Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera, described as a male between 5'9" and 5'10", with an average build, seen carrying a 25-liter Ozark Trail hiker pack from Walmart. Meanwhile, the search continues. Fox News Digital learned that authorities have been using a high-tech Bluetooth scanner placed on the bottom of law enforcement helicopters to try to detect Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker signal. The helicopter has been seen flying in low, slow grid patterns in an attempt to pick up a signal. Meanwhile, there's been limited investigative work here at Nancy Guthrie's home over the weekend. There's just been one sheriff.
Yo, they found 16 gloves is crazy, right? Green-eyed, like only one belonged, like mattered. Wow, talk about littering. Somebody was littering. That's a shit ton of gloves.
Deputy parked here, just standing by, guarding the house. But neighbors have been by, dropping off flowers and notes of encouragement. Some folks just stopping by to look at the house as this neighborhood still grapples with what's happened here. Tommy?
Max Gordon, I'm sure a lot of looky-loos. Thank you so much for joining us as always.
Yep.
All right, so TMZ has played a major part in this mystery as they've received multiple notes from an individual who alleges that they know the identity of Guthrie's abductor and her current location. They're reportedly demanding $100,000 as ransom for that information. Joining us now is TMZ executive producer. He's been on the story from the beginning, 𝗲𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗏. Harvey, we appreciate you taking the time with us tonight. We know you're very involved in all of this. Have you received any more details from this individual? And how certain are you that this person is legit, meaning they actually know the whereabouts, they're not just a scammer?
Well, I can't tell you for sure if it's legit or not because we don't know who it is. I will tell you that the FBI has been definitely interested in these emails, but they are especially interested in the first ransom note that we got and a couple of local stations in Tucson got. They have been in touch with us multiple times about that ransom note. I am puzzled because
I don't know. I kind of feel like something is going to happen too. Like it's about time. We might get a presser tomorrow too.
Because I know Savannah Guthrie had said that they were prepared to pay. We have been checking the account and the ransom is not in there. But I can tell you the FBI is keenly interested in the ransom note. They are also interested in this demand letter. Actually, we've received 3 of them now from the same individual. But again, nobody has put any money in that account. Like you said, they're asking for $100,000. So far, there's nothing in there.
So on that very first ransom letter that you say the FBI continues to ask questions about, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like, I guess my question is, have you received any communication from anyone pretending to be or saying they are the same people from the first ransom letter?
No, the only additional communication was sent to one of the local stations in Tucson. We did not receive that second one. They did, and it matches the first. Those are the only two communications, at least the only two that I know of. But the FBI, as of Friday, was very interested in the note we received. And I'm not going to get into detail,
sure,
but
Is that even true? Like, I don't know to believe TMZ at all anymore.
there were significant contacts over it.
Is it possible, or would you have any reason to believe that if you're not hearing back from them, those deadlines pass, but the FBI is still concerned about it? Do you think it's possible at all that the family or FBI are now in direct communication with them and they're not needing to go through the media?
I don't think so, because as of Friday, the FBI was still trying to determine this person's identity. So if the FBI couldn't, then the family hasn't, because the FBI is clearly working with the Guthrie family.
Harvey, yesterday you said that if you were the Guthrie family, you would not pay the ransom. Now, is that because you don't believe that these letters are legitimate? And if that's the case, what's the purpose here in continuing to publicize them?
Yeah, I didn't say that. Somebody had asked me yesterday, why doesn't TMZ just pay the tipster who says for $100,000, I'll tell you who it is. And that would be really inappropriate for us to get involved that way. But I never said that anything about whether the Guthrie should or shouldn't pay the money. I said I'm puzzled by it because they said they were ready to and they haven't. But this is clearly all part of law enforcement. I mean, this thing has been very well choreographed by the FBI.
Harvey, Kevin Cork here. I've been following your career for a pretty long time. I've been in the business for a minute as well. I can't recall a circumstance like this. Have you ever seen anything play out in this way? And if you've seen anything remotely like it, what usually happens? Because I'm grasping for straws here, trying to figure out where this investigation will ultimately end up.
Well, look, I mean, if this ransom note that we received is legitimate, and I think the FBI has reason to believe it may well be, this person has been incredibly successful at hiding his identity. Believe me, it's not for a lack of trying. So, as technology advances, not just for the FBI in crime solving, but for perpetrators, for kidnappers, to create anonymity, I think we're seeing that much more than I've ever seen in the past, because usually the FBI is able to crack things much more easily, but this was really, really sophisticated. So, look, I mean, there's a profile already in this guy. I mean, the guy is 5'9", 5'10". He appears to have a mustache, a goatee. We have identified both the backpack and the jacket that he's wearing, both of which were purchased at Walmart. There's no doubt in my mind, and law enforcement believes this too, that the guy is from the Tucson area. He is tech savvy and he is smart. The letter that was written is really well constructed. So at least that's something to go on. And I think it's going to build and build. I think if the glove, if this is, and I don't know, I mean, it's weird to me that it's OJ-esque that somebody dropped a single glove 2 miles away. So, I hope this is the real deal. There's something in my head that's saying, how could that be, that somebody who took that kind of care drops a glove on the side of the road? So I don't know. I hope it is. And there's, by the way, there's something called a PCR test, which is a sophisticated DNA test. And you can do a field one very quickly, which apparently they did, but they have to send it to the lab to get the real confirmation, which I believe is what's going on right now.
So, Harvey, just going off of what you just said there, and obviously we're all just speculating here. We want to make sure our audience fully understands that. But you said it's kind of odd that they would drop this glove off. It feels OJ-esque. Is there a part of you that thinks maybe they wanted that glove to be found? Maybe they wanted that surveillance video to be seen with them putting flowers over the doorbell camera, kind of like a bumbling idiot. Do you feel like any of this might be intentional?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I have no idea. if this person had Nancy Guthrie, how did he get her 2 miles from the scene? I'm assuming it's in a vehicle. And if it's in a vehicle, why is this dropped in a field? I don't know. Look, I don't know. This could be real. I hope it is. It's just weird to me.
Harvey, it's been a while now. So trying to recall the timeline of events sometimes is even difficult for us that cover it almost every day. My question for you is, from the very first ransom note, obviously you probably have contacts in federal law enforcement just because of the nature of what you all do. But have you had interactions with both the FBI and the local sheriff's office on behalf of investigating this? And if so, have you seen a difference in how it's been handled?
We have had contact with both. We have had more detailed contact with the FBI because of these letters, and they have been multiple. We've talked to people in the sheriff's department a lot, but not as much in depth. And really, you know, what we've got is much more interesting to the FBI because they have the ability to kind of hunt this down. I don't think the sheriff does. So we're dealing with both, but I think it's fair to say our contact with the FBI has been deeper.
Sure, I appreciate that.
Harvey Levin, thank you.
Wow. Contact with the FBI has been deeper. Brian Enton posted a video too. Like 13 minutes ago. We'll watch his reporting on it.
And we do want to go now to News Nation's Brian Enton, who is outside of the Guthrie home in Tucson. Brian, this new video from Savannah tonight. And meanwhile, what have you seen from authorities today?
Yeah, the Savannah video, which was just posted a little while ago, is just heartbreaking and reminds you, you know, you get so focused on the investigation, but you're reminded of just what this family is going through right now. Not only Savannah, but her siblings, Cameron and Annie. In terms of the investigation, there's been a lot of action over the last couple of days. The latest, Natasha, is the FBI confirming that a glove found about 2 miles from where I'm standing at Nancy Guthrie's house contained DNA that is now being tested, and they're going to put it into the CODIS federal database and try to see if it links back with anyone who could be a potential suspect in the case. That comes on top of.
I don't get it. Why are they waiting to put the person into CODIS? You can't put them until you actually have a fact that they're. I thought they could put anyone in there who they. Why do they have to wait? I guess is my question. Those files looking me side eye, dude. I'm looking at everything side eye, green eyed. You would think it wouldn't take long. Yeah, I don't know. Something feels just way off.
Us learning that there was DNA found inside Nancy Guthrie's home, DNA that doesn't connect back to Nancy Guthrie or to anyone in her inner circle. So that is another big development. And it seems that all of these DNA elements are starting to come together in a way that we may see some real movement in the case. I spoke with a sergeant with the Pima County Sheriff's Office, who is also the union president, about what he thinks about these latest developments. Listen to this.
Apparently, there's a lot of gloves that have been found. Yeah. What do you make of that? I mean, I guess these gloves are used for all sorts of purposes, it seems.
It is pretty common. It could be from investigators. It could also be, I mean, we have a large amount of homeless that live and camp in the area. We also have, we've experienced a lot of nighttime car break-ins in this area as well. So, I mean, it could be from any one of those things. Hopefully it's related to the Guthrie kidnapping or incident, and they're able to get some DNA out of it, and it breaks the case open. But I understand it was found a couple miles away. Hopefully, as he's driving away, he throws his gloves out the window. Maybe we'll get a lucky break, but there's a lot of possibilities.
So hopefully we will find out more soon in terms of this DNA testing that's happening behind the scenes. We may also soon find out more about the SWAT raid that happened on Friday night. There were no arrests,
but I'm told it is still very much an ongoing investigation. Remember, there was a federal search warrant, so they're still going through items that they recovered, including electronics, and we may find out more on that front soon also.
Yeah,
Natasha?
appreciate that. And Brian, so many are closely watching the glove that you mentioned, watching what we may find here. What would you say to those at home who are frustrated at the pace of this investigation, some of the communication that has been going back and forth, and the fact that we are more than 2 weeks out now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 weeks, which is not a good thing.
It's been 2 weeks, and then one detainment that wasn't even right. And then what happened the other night? You know, like, if we wake up tomorrow and they don't give a press conference on this, I will actually probably like scream and cry. That'll be ridiculous because we haven't had a press conference since February 5th. I think was the last one.
Thing with these kinds of cases, obviously, they always say the first 48 hours are the most critical, and that's true. The farther you get out from those first 48 hours, the harder it is to solve a case. So it is frustrating for people who live in the neighborhood. It's obviously frustrating for Savannah Guthrie and her family, but I would say that they are making significant progress. And I think it started with the photos that were released from Nancy's doorbell camera, which was, you know, pretty incredible that the FBI was able to obtain those, even though Nancy didn't have a subscription. And now that we're learning more about DNA that's been recovered, and there have been these SWAT raids. So there's a lot happening behind the scenes, Natasha. And the hope is maybe in the coming days, they'll really, really start to make a break in the case.
That is the hope. Thank you, Brian Enton, reporting live in Tucson, Arizona.
Let's watch his video that just came out on his channel, because that was on News Nation. Let's watch the one on his channel.
To a suspect. Also, you guys remember the SWAT raid Friday night that I was at. I went back out to the house where the raid happened. Been a couple days later. I find a lot of times when you go back to places a couple days later, you can see if people want to talk then when things sort of simmer down. So I'll show you what that was like. Really nice neighborhood, by the way. So I'll take you back to the house. And then also more drama with the Pima County Sheriff. In this episode, I have an interview with a sergeant from the Pima County Sheriff's Office, who is also the union president, who is very concerned about the way the investigation has been handled. He's concerned about a lack of experience with the detectives on the case. And he explains to me what he thinks should be done differently and also what is being said within the department.
Guys, I'm like a little bit obsessed with Brian Enton. I didn't want to admit it respectfully, but I really, really like him.
It's the first time
he does a really good
I've
job.
been able to interview him, and he is a sergeant with the department right now. And he was able to speak freely because he's got the protections because he is the union president. And then lastly, I'm going to get into the signal sniffer. Remember, I told you guys about that. That is this device that I've now found out came from the FBI that they attached to the helicopter that can actually sense Nancy's pacemaker. Everything new I've learned about that also coming up in this episode of Brian Enton Investigates. Hey guys, all right, so I want to go over the latest with you on the newest development with the
not just Nancy's pacemaker, anyone's pacemaker. Just so you guys get that right. It's anyone's pacemaker, which I think is crazy.
FBI statement involving new DNA on the glove. And first, the statement's a little confusing, so I'm going to tell you what I make of it in a second. But first, let me just read you this new statement from an FBI spokesperson. It says, the gloves found approximately 2 miles from the Guthrie residence in a field near the side of the road were packaged up by the Pima County Sheriff's Office and sent overnight on 2/12, and they arrived at their private lab in Florida on 2/13. The FBI received preliminary results yesterday on 2/14 and are awaiting quality control and official confirmation today before putting unknown male profile into CODIS, the national database unique to the Bureau. This process typically takes 24 hours from when the Bureau receives DNA. Investigators collected approximately 16 gloves in various areas near the house. Most of them were searchers' gloves that they discarded in various areas when they searched the vicinity. The one with the DNA profile recovered is different and appears to match the glove of the subject in the surveillance video, the FBI has and will continue to provide assistance on whatever timeline is provided to us. So the most important line here that I see is the one with the DNA profile recovered is different and appears to match the glove on the subject in the surveillance video. So there is one of the gloves that they have found that is different because they say it actually matches the glove that we see in the surveillance video at the front of Nancy Guthrie's home. And it has a DNA profile on it that they are interested in and that they are going to put into CODIS. So that is pretty significant. And remember, a lot of people are saying, well, how do they know exactly if the glove matches based on that video that we've just seen from the front door? They could have more video that we just don't know about. Nancy had other cameras, and they may only be releasing publicly the video from the front camera, but they very well may have been able to get video from the other Google Nest cameras that Nancy had. I am told she may have had one more, and maybe that also picked up video of the suspect. I don't know, but if it did, that could be another way that they're able to get a close look at the glove. So this is significant.
Wait, he just said he's been told that there was another camera. So that means one of his sources told him that, which could possibly be true. Wow.
The other thing that stood out to me is when they said that some of the other gloves that they found were from searchers that had discarded them in various areas. I mean, that just kind of surprised me. You would think that the search crews would not be just discarding their gloves outside, especially since it appears most of the searchers have been either deputies or FBI agents. And I will say I've seen some photos of some of the law enforcement out searching with these black gloves just like hanging out of their back pocket. And I noticed it because I thought, gosh, those could just like fall out of their back pocket. And then would someone pick that up and think that that was a glove connected to the case? So that part kind of stood out to me. But really the main message here is that they have a glove with the DNA profile recovered. And that glove appears to match the gloves of the subject in the surveillance video. Later in this episode, you'll hear me. I talked to a sergeant with the Pima County Sheriff's Office who actually happens to also be the union president, which is why he was allowed to talk to me. But he'll explain he's skeptical of this glove actually matching back to the suspect, just because he says there really are a lot of these gloves around. There's a lot of homeless people around. He says there's a lot of people who wear these gloves for different work that they do. So he was skeptical, but you'll hear why he says that a little later in the episode. I also want to remind you, when it comes to DNA, there was another big development over the last couple of days. The sheriff said that they found DNA in Nancy Guthrie's home, which is back there behind me, that does not connect back to Nancy Guthrie and does not connect back to anyone in her, circle of people that come to the house. So that to me is almost more significant than the DNA found on the glove, because that really could be the kidnapper's DNA. The bottom line is they're getting DNA now in from different places, not to mention, remember the search warrant they did where they likely swabbed people for DNA there too. So the bottom line is they're getting DNA in now from different places. And this is when you start to see a case come together from the experts that I've spoken to and from the cases that I've covered. This is when DNA experts can really go to work and they can start comparing different pieces of DNA that came in and start trying to make connections. So I get the sense that things might really start heating up over the next couple of days based on some of this new information that's coming out. So again, I'm going to get to my DNA expert here in a minute, but I wanted to get through some of the other big headlines for you, and she'll actually explain how significant this is. Something else. So remember Friday night, I was at the SWAT operation that happened where they went into the house. They pulled a man and a woman out who I'm told were mother and son. And then they also pulled someone over close by as part of the same operation. And we're told there were no arrests made. It was all connected to the Nancy Guthrie investigation. But I'm told by sources not to just discount all of this, that there's still very much an investigation happening behind the scenes, that they served this federal search warrant, and that, they're still processing evidence. So I went back to the neighborhood today. I hadn't had a chance to go back since I was there when it was dark out, and I wanted to see what it looked like in the daylight. And I also wanted to go up to the door and see if anyone was home. So take a look at this. So this is my first time back in the neighborhood where the SWAT activity was on Friday night. I was here, it was obviously dark, and then I got so distracted with all the other developments of the weekend. But this is what...
Why do I think that we're going to wait for tomorrow and they're going to tell us they don't know anything?
the neighborhood looks like. It's a pretty nice neighborhood. It's interesting because again, it was so dark when I was out here. It's interesting to see it all in the daylight. This is the house here that the SWAT activity happened at. And it's pretty quiet around. I'm gonna go to the door and see if anybody is home at the house.
Oh, wow. He's really knocking on someone's door.
Doesn't look like anybody's answering. I think other reporters have already been here. I'm not sure if anyone's home, although there is a car. Oh, hi, we'll be right there, it said. I don't think anyone's coming. I did. I saw someone in the window. Hello?
They don't
Hello?
want to talk to you.
There was a woman that just opened the blind just for a second.
They don't want to talk to
Yeah,
a
I don't think
reporter.
they're coming out. Like I said, I think some other reporters have been here, and it looked like a kind of an older woman that opened the curtain just for a second.
Oh, wow.
There's this car that was in an accident in the driveway. But yeah, so this is the neighborhood. It's a pretty nice neighborhood. Kind of reminds me of Nancy Guthrie's neighborhood a little bit. It's about 2 miles away, but the houses are much, much closer together, and they're out closer to the road. In Nancy's neighborhood, there's obviously a lot more like shrubbery and cactuses in the front. So I'll go back to that house again. I find just with my reporting that sometimes when things cool down and all the other reporters leave, and if I kind of forget about something, that's the best time to kind of swoop in and try to talk to people. So I'm going to check out the house again and just keep an eye on that whole situation, because again, while there were no arrests, I'm told that there's still activity happening behind the scenes. Something else I wanted to update you guys on, if you follow me on Twitter, I've talked about this signal sniffer, which I confirmed that I actually have video of this helicopter. We saw it last week. It was the Pima County Sheriff's Office helicopter that was hovering very, very low over Nancy Guthrie's house, and then hovering low over the side yard and the backyard and just different areas around the house. But it was peculiar because I haven't seen search and rescue helicopters hover in one place that low for extended period of times. Like it would stay in one spot for like 3 minutes and then move, but again, very, very low. And I am told that there was a piece of technology on the chopper that was sent in from the FBI called a signal sniffer. And it's a new kind of technology. It's pretty top secret in many ways. And they attach it to a skid of the helicopter, and it could actually sense
We've heard about the signal sniffer. Hey, thanks, Wilson. Fire we back. Thanks for hours of entertainment today. Thanks, Wilson. I appreciate you very much. So, oh, Wilson. Wait till you make it to one of the after darks. I appreciate you for being here. No, truly, I really do. Because YouTube's trying to censor me with the Epstein files, but you know how that is. Listen, I don't think they know what's going on here. I don't think they have a lead. I guess if that DNA really does belong to the perpetrator, then yeah, that'll be a break tomorrow in the case, right? But and if it doesn't,
Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. Again, I'm told it's an imperfect science and it's a new technology, and it has to hover low and it has to stay in one place. That's why the helicopter was just like not moving around a ton.
but they believe that there's the possibility that it could actually pick up on Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker. It also, by the way, picks up on other things, AirPods.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it picks on other people's pacemakers and other shit too. So how are they gonna know it's Nancy's?
As I'm told, smart washers and dryers, all of those things. So it becomes a little complicated trying to narrow it down. But it's interesting. It is a technology that they have used in the past. And I confirmed that with one of my sources on the ground. And then News Nation reporter Libby Dean, who's my friend in DC, also confirmed it with her FBI source that the FBI did send that technology in and that it has been used, which is just interesting because I've never heard of something like that before. And it's just kind of fascinating that they could try to detect Nancy's pacemaker. And hopefully, when I saw them using it, it was over a week ago. So I don't know if they've used it again, but it's kind of a neat piece of technology that they're using in this investigation. I want to go now, though, to 𝗝cie Moore, who is really just a famous DNA expert. She's worked on a lot of big cases, and I want to get her take on this latest information that we got from the FBI regarding the DNA on the glove and also the DNA in Nancy Guthrie's house. I'm joined now by 𝗝cie Moore. It's nice to see you, 𝗝cie.
Nice to see you.
I think it's quiet out here. Hopefully, I'm outside Nancy Guthrie's house, so sometimes it gets a little noisy out here, but I think it'll be okay. Just a lot of people in the crime community.
I guess they'll know like when the device connects. Biggest distraction ever, says 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗍. Yeah, it is. Tomorrow they're gonna be like, here's Nancy. It does, I think, Evie, it does come with the ID or serial number, what I heard. If it's their gloves and DNA, they are the dumbest criminal. That's what I'm saying. All of this for them to just leave their DNA, I don't know. Can her doctor's office find out if it's still working? That's what I asked last night. I said, can they tell if it's still on? Because allegedly they don't die for a long time, right? The pacemakers. And by die, I mean like the battery. So I feel like if they last that long, then they should be able to see that the device is somewhat connected.
Know you, obviously, but just for people who don't know you, tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm one of the early pioneers of genetic genealogy, and then that transition into using it for law enforcement purposes. And I am the chief genetic genealogist at 𝗏𝗏𝗍𝗶𝗏 Nanolabs. My small team and I have helped law enforcement solve over 365 cases now. So I think we've really proven the power of investigative genetic genealogy.
For sure. So I'm glad you're the perfect person for me to talk to about these latest developments with Nancy Guthrie. The first thing I wanted to ask you is this new information that came out from the FBI about this glove that was found 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house that they found some DNA on, and they're going to put into CODIS, I guess, after they finalize the testing. What do you make of that? What does that mean?
You know, it's interesting to me that they've agreed to put it into CODIS because that usually means that they feel fairly confident about it. They have very strict guidelines about what DNA is allowed in that database. So that leads me to believe that
that answers my question earlier. I'm like, wait, why are they thinking about it? So they need to make sure that it's the correct person.
Have a reasonable belief that it could be from the crime scene. However, being 2 miles away, of course, I would obviously use great caution in coming to conclusions about who the suspect is just based on that alone. We've had a lot of cases where we have analyzed things like gloves and like other items in or near crime scenes. And of course, when you're doing that, it really requires that there is a lot more caution used because it very well could be an innocent person.
Yeah, and a lot of people use those black gloves for different jobs. And like you said, the fact that it's 2 miles away. The sheriff also said that they found DNA in Nancy's house that is not, that doesn't connect back to Nancy and doesn't connect to anyone really within her circle. Because apparently they've swabbed, you know, like the workers that have gone in and out and the family members and stuff. That to me, is that significant?
To me, that's much more significant because we know that's tied to the crime scene. Of course, it still doesn't guarantee that it is the suspect.
So wait, they've had DNA allegedly inside the house. from the inside the crime scene, and they just now sent it off for testing, or I'm a little confused. When they sign into law, we'll all be Canadians. She has to be connected to the system. Oh, the pacemaker. Hey, Jay. Good to see you. Thank you for being a member for 2 months. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm getting no damn chip in me. Interesting.
DNA can last a long time depending on what the form is of that DNA. I've worked cases where
I'm just confused. They had DNA for 2 weeks. And they didn't think to send that off to the lab, or did they send it off? And that doesn't make any sense. Because they're saying that they have to send it off now and we have to wait. Yeah. What I recall hearing is sheriff's office would not send it where the FBI wanted to. We're at the starting point of the peak going into the dark, and last days we aren't in them.
Analyzed a drop of blood, and it ended up being someone who'd lived in the house 2 years earlier. And of course, we know Nancy has been there for many years, decades. So she should have a pretty good idea. I mean, her family should have a pretty good idea about who has been in and out there. So that helps a lot. I am very optimistic about that part of it, much more so than the glove. And I think that if they really do have that alien DNA there, that DNA that they are not able to tie to any known person, that could very well be the answer to this case.
And I'm told that with some of these people that they've been questioning, you know, they've done some search warrants over the last week, that they are swabbing them also for DNA.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
How does that work? So what, then they will go and compare that to what they found in the house, or how does that work behind the scenes?
Right. So that is using the traditional law enforcement DNA analysis that they have used for decades in cases like this. So that's just a straight profile, one-to-one comparison. Do any of those individuals match any of, does the DNA profile from any of those persons of interest match any of the DNA that was found in the house? If they did, that's obviously huge. Even if it matched that glove, that could be really telling, right? Because that's unlikely to be a coincidence then. That's not something that they would need to use genetic genealogy for. So that is just the traditional type of testing and comparisons.
How long does it take to get results for something like that? Like if they go and do a search warrant and swab someone, how quickly could they know if it connects back to the DNA on the glove or the DNA in the house?
Well, that could be very quick because there's such a thing as rapid DNA now. And I'm sure they are using it in this case since it is so timely. And with those, you can create those law enforcement profiles, the type of DNA that's entered into the CODIS database very quickly, almost immediately. And so that's something.
Almost immediately, she said. So what's taking so long?
That they should have results on extremely quickly.
And when you say quickly, is it like hours even?
Yes, hours.
Okay, so I'm just thinking because this latest raid was on Friday night. It's now, when we're doing this interview, it's Sunday. There have still been no arrests, so maybe they've already gotten the results by this point.
They may have. It just depends what technology they're using. Typically,
not the DNA calling bullshit. Literally, she just said it could take hours. So I don't know. I don't really know what's going on with the police department or the FBI, whoever's investigating this case.
It would take, I'd say, overnight, a full day if they're using the traditional crime scene analysis. But if they're using one of those rapid DNA analysis machines, which I would be very surprised if they weren't, that is very, very quick. So they would already have answers to some of those questions, I imagine.
If they've sent everything so far to this lab in Florida, which the sheriff's department uses, if they do a swab of someone here, do they then have to send it to that lab? Or can they do something here where they just compare it?
They could do something there if they have the rapid DNA machine there. So the private lab, the outside lab, is going to be most useful when it comes to creating a SNP profile, which is what we use for genetic genealogy. Many labs, including crime labs, the FBI, many others, are able to create that traditional STR profile, that short tandem repeat profile. That's what law enforcement has used for decades. That is what they use to charge someone with a crime and eventually convict somebody with a crime. And so there's a wide capability to do that. So they could have sent it to their own crime lab there in Arizona. They could have sent it to the FBI for that, or they could also have DNA Labs International in Florida working on that part of the case. That's a much more quick process as compared to creating the SNP profile and trying to perform genetic genealogy on it.
Yeah, when I think of genetic genealogy, I think of the Kohberger case, which I think is the first time that a lot of people had ever heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is it essentially where they go? Well, tell me could they use it in a case like this?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've been waiting for that to happen, just hoping that there would be DNA found that was not tied to any of the known individuals from the home, because that will solve the case if nothing else does. It's just a matter of time then. If they have that DNA, that person who left that DNA will be identified.
So the stranger's DNA in the house, they could figure out who that person is, even if
absolutely, yes.
Just they could come up with it almost out of nowhere. Even if none of these others. Yeah,
it's not out of nowhere, but it is a highly reliable method of reverse engineering somebody's identity just from their DNA. So if someone leaves their DNA behind at a crime scene, then they absolutely can and eventually will be identified through investigative genetic genealogy. What is going to determine how long that takes is...
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It has to be in the system, right? The DNA. So if they have DNA and they put it into CODIS and the perpetrator's not in the CODIS system, then they don't know, correct? Question mark, question mark. Did he leave DNA though? And would someone asking for ransom leave DNA? So do they have everyone's DNA from the that's the entire point. Tire people's minds with all information at once. DNA is useless if it's not on file already. Correct. That's what I was thinking.
Is what population group that person is from. So if their ancestry is from Latin America and they have recent immigrant ancestors, it'll be much more difficult to identify that individual. So it could take a lot longer. We have a lot of those Hispanic cases, and they tend to take weeks, months, or years compared to somebody who has deep roots in the United States and primarily Northwest European ancestry.
Is that because if you are Hispanic and your family just came here recently, you're not in as many databases? You don't have distant relatives in as many databases?
Exactly. Now, they could get lucky and there could be a close relative in the genetic genealogy databases. But
so my grandparents have never been here, so I'm thinking if they're not in any system or their DNA, there should be on the walls, of course. If a person was arrested before, if they have not, they will have the work cut out for them. They will know because they run it through the international database. But do they have everybody's DNA? I don't do 23andMe. I don't.
But that's really unlikely. And that's because despite the fact that over 50 million people have taken direct consumer DNA tests, for law enforcement cases, we are limited to the 2 or 3 smallest databases, which is less than 2 million people. And I'm hearing a lot of misconceptions out there. People are saying they can use Ancestry, they can use 23andMe. That is not true. Ancestry, 23andMe, and MyHeritage, the 3 largest consumer DNA databases, have barred law enforcement's use. And there are 2 well-known databases.
Yeah, I'm a little offended. Why just Hispanic? Good point, Jay. Like what? Ashley Banfield said something, maybe we'll watch it, something too in her video. And I was like, Ashley Banfield, you still have to admit and speak up about why you are in the Epstein files, girl. I'm really starting not to become a fan of her. And I'm not even a hater like that for other creators, but she's really getting under my skin lately. You're good, Sarah. Good to see you. You're fine. I've been live all day, so we just started a little while ago. We'll watch that.
This is GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA that have agreed to work with law enforcement. And then there's a new nonprofit called DNA Justice that's much smaller, but it can also be used. And so those are the ones that they will have to work in unless they can serve a successful warrant on the larger databases. Now, if I was Savannah Guthrie and her family, I would be begging management at Ancestry, 23andMe, and MyHeritage to allow the genetic genealogy profile to be compared in there, because it would be a much more straightforward and quicker identification that way. But so far, they've been.
Are the Guthries doing that? Ooh.
Very, very resistant to that, even though studies have shown that 91% of the public is in favor of using genetic genealogy to identify this type of criminal.
I'm so glad you explained that, because I didn't know that. I just assumed that you had access to all of them. I didn't know
I wish.
that.
We'd be solving thousands and thousands and thousands of cases every day. We would be solving a case.
Oh, so they need permission from these 23andMe Ancestry. They don't just have access to everyone's DNA. Dude, we know what's going on with the JE files. I do not want to give my DNA to 23andMe or Ancestry, because who knows? They could be working with Jeffrey Epstein still. And I don't want my DNA to be reproduced in the Atlantis, underwater, under satanic ritualistic manners. What they don't know is their DNA will be a part of that database too.
Because if, for instance, you're adopted now and you want to find your biological family.
That's true. The hospitals do have everyone's DNA, right? Yeah, because they do the little thumbprint of the babies. Damn. They're cloning us in another underground. We're being cloned, guys.
You can compare against 50 million plus profiles, and you can almost always find that family quite quickly. And I used to work adoption cases back when we had a tiny database. So working law enforcement cases now is like stepping back to, say, 2014, trying to find somebody's biological family. And that is just because of the size of the databases. So because we're working in GEDmatch, where you have to not only be in the database, but opt into law enforcement matching, that is maybe 600,000, 700,000 people. And then Family Tree DNA, there is maybe 1.2 million or so in that database. They don't release their exact number. So, you know, some of those are the same people. So it's really under 2 million people. And you've got to get a little lucky, right? You've got to hope that there are close enough relatives in there for you to be able to find their common ancestors. And so we're working with second, third, fourth, fifth cousins and beyond the vast majority of the time. Occasionally, you will get a close relative, just luck. So it's really going to depend on luck and population group as far as how long genetic genealogy would take.
So you're telling me that Bryan Kohberger was based on luck, genealogy group, and whatever she just said, right? Because didn't they get like some DNA off of Brian's dad or something? After 15 days, hope at the word. You guys, it's 15 days. Does anybody else feel like exhausted with Nancy Guthrie case?
To identify this unknown individual.
Two questions. Do the bigger companies that you were talking about that don't let you use their database, have there been warrants where they make exceptions?
No, I do not believe there has been, based on some very good inside sources I have. But I know that they are ready to serve them in a case that has, you know, high priority. For instance, if Charlie Kirk's killer had not been identified so quickly, or the person who tried to assassinate President Trump, those would have been the type of cases where I think it's very likely the FBI would have gone ahead and served that warrant on the commercial companies, Ancestry, 23andMe.
Interesting.
In a case like this, will they? I don't know. But I think that this is going to happen one of these days. It's going to be a huge knockdown, drag out fight between law enforcement and the courts. and these very powerful deep pocket consumer DNA testing companies.
Do you?
AKA maybe associated with JE. Jay says, do you think this has been given extra media time? It's everywhere. It's being shoved on our literally everyone on my that I follow is covering it. Like I just wake up and it's like Nancy in the morning. There's very few that are doing something different. Or Epstein. Yeah, but why has Harvey been the chosen one? I was exhausted when they first mentioned it because I knew there wasn't going anywhere. I don't even know if it's going anywhere tomorrow. Like, will we know about that DNA? Will we know what the other night was about when they went into the house and they swatted somebody's house? And then don't forget Carlos. They detained Carlos, and Carlos wasn't even supposed to be detained, right? And what's up with the 84-year-old lady? You know what? I'm starting to think this was just a burglary gone wrong. And I'm starting to think like maybe some guys just went in there trying to rob her and it went wrong. And so the body is somewhere. I don't know. I know that sounds really dark. And who knows? This is wild. Yeah. Where's the body? Like, where's the body? Yeah, and TMZ muddied the waters with the Bitcoin piece. I don't know if why would they be sending Bitcoin to TMZ, guys? Why not send it to the daughter who's worth $100 million between her and her husband who worked for Bill Clinton? I mean, why not go for the big dogs? You know what I mean? Like if I was going to do something like that, I'd want to go for the people who have the most money. Maybe not though. If she knows something, she has to be silenced. Well, Nancy was very political as well. So propaganda distraction. She could have been dumped anywhere. Or Annie take her.
You think that they have started ancestral DNA testing? I don't know how you phrase it with this case. Do you think it's already started?
And in that clip we saw earlier, Harvey's like, oh, I don't want to pay like someone asked him why he wouldn't pay the ransom and he doesn't want to get involved. But wait, if Savannah told you to get involved and was like, pay the ransom, I'll pay you back type thing. Like why not? If someone's saying that they have information on who this is, why not pay that ransom? Because TMZ is making like 61 Bitcoin is nothing to TMZ. That's like $5,000 to TMZ. Like they get paid to keep stories on the low and they get paid to promote stories from celebrities who have other intentions and just in general. You know what I mean? Like they make money on stories, whether they're reporting them or finding them out. So like TMZ can't sit here and say like, oh, 1 Bitcoin. That ain't shit to them. And if TMZ or even JLR did like a fundraiser, that what is it, 60,000, 66,000 in Bitcoin, you can fundraise that. So and if I was worth that much money, AKA Savannah Guthrie, I would just be like, whatever, TMZ, you're the one getting the ransom notes. Just pay it, see if it helps. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Oh, well, move on. Or no.
Absolutely. I think they are doing it in parallel.
For no proof of life. I would just want to find an ending to this situation and I care about my mom. So at this point, I don't really care. Proof of life or not, if they're not going to give it to me, I might just take that chance, you know?
Well, like they did in the Kohberger case, where there's enough DNA where they can split that basically, and they can create the STR profile, that traditional profile from some of the DNA, and then will at the same time be creating that SNP profile with another portion of the DNA. And even in Kohberger's case, for instance, they were able to do that. And it was just
transfer I just said that.
Touch DNA, right? It could have been a lot.
Literally, that's what happened in Brian Kohberger.
So it just depends on what they found in Nancy's home, how much they have. But we need such a tiny, tiny amount to create that genetic genealogy profile that I feel very confident that they are doing that. And I've worked with DNA Labs International in Florida, the company that is doing this. And they are very good at extracting DNA from evidence. They have done that on a lot of my successful cases, because that's not something that Parabon does. We send that out. And so I have full confidence in them. I do not at all think it was devastating that it was sent to them. I trust them. And I am sure they are already working towards creating that SNP profile, if not already completed it, and uploading it to those databases where they need to compare it against the people that have allowed us to do that.
And I know you said it's hard to say an exact time, but like what is the range of time you think it would take for them to get results to find a second, third, fourth cousin of whoever did this?
Well, it takes a little while just to get the comparisons back. So once you upload that SNP profile to GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, it can take a day or two, or sometimes even longer at Family Tree DNA, to get that list of people who share DNA with that unknown DNA contributor. So I doubt that they have it yet, but it might be very, very close to being compared at GEDmatch. If they were able to create that, say, yesterday and upload it, it would be undergoing those comparisons right now. They might have their match list, as early as today or tomorrow for that DNA. Now, if there are significant enough matches there, and when I say matches, it's very different than what most people are used to with law enforcement cases. Matches has traditionally been an exact match, right? You're looking for that person in the CODIS database, their DNA. Or if your state allows familial searching, then you're looking for someone who's a very close relative in the law enforcement databases. Only some states allow that. But that can only detect a first-degree relative. You need a parent, child, or a full sibling. They also can do a Y chromosome search.
This is crazy. Think of everything the government can do with our DNA. I'm convinced it's the non-famous daughter and the son-in-law. A lot of people are saying that. They still think it's Tommaso and Annie. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. We can agree to disagree. I don't know. I thought it was at first. I'm not going to lie. I do agree with this comment. I don't think she ever made it home. I don't think she did. I really don't. I don't think she did. I don't think she made it home. I think that whoever was there was part of the whole thing. And they spent 45 minutes inside the house. So
that's a little bit more complex. But that is very, very different than in genetic genealogy databases. When we say a match, that is a partial match. That is someone who typically will share just a little bit of their DNA. It might be less than 1% of their DNA. And you get a long list. So everybody that puts their DNA in one of those databases will have hundreds or thousands of matches, depending on their population group. We're usually looking at the top dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen matches, and then trying to figure out how they're related to all of those people. They might be third cousins, meaning they share great-great-grandparents. So we've got to figure out which set of their great-great-grandparents. And we do that by looking for patterns in the data. Overlaps, triangulation.
Yeah, the brother-in-law did allegedly drop her off. That's why I'm like, did she even make it home?
Who's this one person or set of siblings that is related to all of these people sharing DNA with the unknown suspect? So it can take a long time. The fastest I've ever been able to do it, once I got my DNA list from GEDmatch, was 30 minutes. And then I have some cases I've been working on for 7 years. So
wow.
Population.
So it's hard to say.
It really is. But
yeah.
In a high priority active case like this, I'm sure they're going to throw everything at it they can, all the resources they can. DNA Labs International has a really good chief genetic genealogist there that I have a lot of confidence in. And so if she's not already working on it, I'm sure she will be soon. And this is the type of case that you push to the top of the pile, and that's because it's active, right? The vast majority of the cases that we're working are cold cases, and they're still important, but public safety is not at risk as much as when you're working an active case like this or Kohberger, for instance. They need to stop these people in their tracks.
So interesting. Is there anything else, 𝗍𝗍, you think with this case is important? I mean, and we don't know obviously all the details, but the fact that they have DNA from inside the house, the glove, there's probably other things that we don't know about. From a DNA perspective, do you think they're making progress just based on what you know from the outside?
Well, it's always hard to know what's going on behind the scenes. I'm sometimes so frustrated when I'm working on a case and I see the commentary that's out there in the public, because I know on those cases what's happening, and it's often very different than what the public or even the media is speculating. So I hesitate to speculate on that. But I have, as I said, a lot of confidence that they are moving this forward. The agency already had a relationship with DNA Labs International and a contract, which means they've been successful in the past. They trust them. And as I said, I have full trust as well. I think anyone making negative comments like that, it's really just competitive posturing. We don't need that in this case. We want Nancy found, we want this person identified. It doesn't matter which company does it or which lab does it, which of course I'd love to work the case, right? But I don't really care as long as somebody skilled is doing it. And they did not make a mistake, in my opinion, sending that to DNA Labs International. They can bring in the FBI genetic genealogy team too, if it ends up being a really difficult case, just like they did in the Kohberger case, right? It was started at the private lab. It was transferred to the FBI investigative genetic genealogy team, and they were the ones who made that identification of Brian. And that could happen in this case too. If it's taking too long for the private lab, then they can certainly bring in the FBI genetic genealogy team, and they have resources that we don't have. And so sometimes, especially in these immigrant cases, Latin American cases, we have had the FBI come in and take over cases, and they were able to identify that person using resources we didn't have.
So that's explaining why Pimas County should send it to some lab that was far away in Florida, right? I think it was Florida.
Border crossings, right? Immigration records, things that we wouldn't typically be able to access, because as genetic genealogists outside the government, we are just working with public records only. We don't have special law enforcement access. We just have access to what everyone else has. Actually less, since we can't use the big databases like you could if you were researching your own family.
Wow, really interesting. 𝗍𝗍, I appreciate you explaining it to me. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate 𝗍𝗍 for taking the time to talk to me and explaining some of this DNA stuff to me, because it can be this is where things get really complicated and scientific. But as you heard her say, this is also when cases come together, and we're starting to see DNA evidence really appear in this Nancy Guthrie case. So hopefully this will help move things along. I also want you to hear my interview that I just did with Sergeant Aaron Cross, who is a Pima County Sheriff's Office sergeant. And I've made a lot of sources on the ground here, but it's difficult talking to people within the department on camera because they can get in big trouble for speaking. What's interesting about Sergeant Cross is he is also the union president, so he has protections and can speak more freely. He's not on the inside of the Nancy Guthrie investigation at all, so he can't speak about what's happening from the inside of the investigation, but he has a ton of expertise when it comes to this area. He's been with the sheriff's office for almost 20 years. And he also is able to talk about, and openly, which is difficult here because people are nervous to talk badly about the sheriff who are still working there, but he can talk about concerns that the deputies have about the sheriff, about the way the investigation has been handled. And why he thinks the FBI should have been brought in sooner. So listen to my conversation with Sergeant Cross. The first thing I wanted to ask you about was just this new FBI statement that I showed you. First of all, apparently there's a lot of gloves that have been found.
Yeah.
What do you make of that? I mean, I guess these gloves are used for all sorts of purposes, it seems.
It is pretty common. It could be from investigators. It could also be, we have a large amount of homeless that live and camp in the area. We also have, we've experienced a lot of nighttime car break-ins in this area.
I'm just confused on how that glove was found, right? 2 weeks later. Oh, so it all of a sudden just showed up after 2 weeks? Am I tripping? Like, there's been people, boots on the ground, FBI, SWAT team, and now the glove just got found 2 weeks later. We're literally on day 15 today, guys. Day 15, Nancy is nowhere to be found. Yeah, because they found gloves in the middle of the road or on someone's driveway or something. It might not even be related. Yeah, I guess one of them is related. Yeah, there's 16. There was 16 gloves. You might have missed that, Wilson, earlier. There's 16 gloves they found.
As well. So, I mean, it could be from any one of those things. Hopefully it's related to the Guthrie kidnapping or incident, and they're able to get some DNA out of it, and it breaks the case open. But I understand it was found a couple miles away. Hopefully, as he's driving away, he throws his gloves out the window. Maybe we'll get a lucky break, but there's a lot of possibilities.
It just seems like that would be a dumb thing to do, though. I mean, if you're the suspect,
yeah,
why wouldn't you bury them or hold on to them?
Yeah, it seems very unusual. He seemed to be very prepared and very careful, at least on the video that was released, and so it would seem very out of character for what we're able to see. But hopefully we'll get lucky.
And you are a sergeant with the Pima County Sheriff's Office and
Yes,
also the union president.
Yes, sir.
So you're able to talk to us about some of these issues with the department because you're protected.
Correct.
By which is why we haven't really been able to talk to anyone else within the.
Yeah, I can speak on matters of public concern. Yeah, and have some protections from that.
Do you ever get nervous about retaliation?
Oh, all the time. I'm sure I'll be drugged in to answer questions about this.
No, Green-eyed, that's my point. If you were holding someone for ransom, would you go where 100 journalists are? That's why I'm saying it's weird that they found it 2 weeks later in an area where there has been people, human presence has been heavy.
Very interview.
Okay.
I'm
What
like,
is since you have your pulse.
Nobody saw that.
How many deputies did you say are in your union?
So we have a little over 300 out of the about 396 detectives and deputies in the department.
So almost everybody.
Yes, sir.
So what is the feeling right now within the department? I mean, you guys have the eyes of the world on you.
Yeah, it's tough. The deputies, they haven't been impacted as much. The detectives, though, they're working. I mean, some of them are working 8 days straight. Some of them have put in 70, 80-hour weeks for the last couple of weeks. So they're doing everything possible to try and solve this crime. They're working very hard, sacrificing a lot of time with their families, and they're doing everything they can. But it's definitely taken a toll a little bit. You can tell when you speak with them. There's a little bit of burnout. I get that sense. They haven't vocalized that to me, but you can tell it's been a lot. And working 80 hours a week, 70 hours a week, that's a tall order.
And a lot of pressure. I mean, everybody wants to find Nancy,
Certainly, yeah. The whole, it feels like the whole world, or at least the nation, that their eyes are on us. And so there's a lot of pressure internally as well as externally to try and solve this quickly.
Is it true, and I've just heard this from some people around the sheriff's office, that the homicide team is pretty inexperienced?
And you know what I was thinking? Like, remember the video of the blood? I've just been thinking about things like late at night. Remember the video of the blood? Is that actual like blood, or because it looks like cough? Like she could have coughed blood too, right? Remember the blood splatter? Maybe we'll go back and look at it
right now.
They're pretty new, and that goes for
something
really all
feels
the departments.
off.
So we have 96 detectives. 45 of them are detective ones, meaning they're pretty new. Inside the unit, I think the person that has the most experience inside that unit has 3 years in homicide, and then some of them are more experienced detectives. They just haven't been in homicide. So there's been a lot of turnover. Another example is that our deputies, we have 195 deputies in patrol. 101 are on probation, meaning they have less than a year. We've experienced several waves of exodus of deputies going to other agencies or retiring early to go work somewhere else. So we're feeling the consequences of that, both on the detective side and in patrol.
Yeah, that's kind of alarming when you think about a case this complicated.
Very.
And we know the sheriff's office is still technically in charge. You'd think there'd be people with decades of experience.
Yes. And if this case happened 10 years ago, we would have a lot more experience to handle it. However, I mean, like I said, we only have 96 detectives compared to something like the FBI. They could bring thousands of investigators that they could pull from across the country. So we're a medium-sized department, and of course there are limitations that come with that.
Have there been frustrations on the inside about the way this has been handled?
A little bit. They vocalized some of that to me. A lot of it is just some of the decision-making from the top makes them look incompetent, and a lot of those decisions weren't theirs. And so I agree with one of Sheriff Nanos's versions was that we gave up the scene probably a little too early. And perhaps we could have kept that locked down, maybe with permission of the family, could have put up crime scene tape after the search warrant was concluded, just with the understanding, hey, we're probably going to have to come back out here. Is it okay if we keep people out? And see if the family would have agreed with that and put up that security to keep people away, just to maintain that crime scene as pristine as possible.
What about this relationship with the FBI? Because we've heard from FBI sources that it hasn't been good. You know, I even heard a couple nights ago there was some critical information that wasn't shared with Ebola that they just didn't tell the FBI about.
Yeah.
And then, you know, this whole issue with the lab.
Yeah.
It's going to Florida, whereas the FBI is, why isn't some of this stuff going to 𝗠𝗲𝗃𝗃?
Yeah.
Where does that stem from?
So my opinion is that this comes from 2016. I think when Sheriff Nanos was investigated, when he was interim sheriff back then, I think that investigation caused a lot of the icy relationship that we see today. He holds grudges, and took that as a shot, and I think that he hasn't forgotten it. And I think that's driving some of the decision making that's going on right now.
Do you think the relationship is getting better at all, though? Because when we went out to the search warrant, I guess that was on Friday night. You know, the FBI was there for that. Yeah. It was and it was your SWAT team, but then it was an FBI search warrant, federal search warrant. I mean, do you think they're trying to mend that now, or what's your sense?
If there's any efforts to mend the fences between them, it's only because of public pressure for him to do so. But I think that this case, what worries me is I'm worried that this case has become an ego case for him, and that this is our chance to one-up the FBI or to show that we're as good as the FBI. And I'm not sure that should be driving the decision-making. We have very capable, hardworking detectives. However, it's like I said before, we're a medium-sized agency. We just simply don't have the manpower, the assets, the funding that something like the FBI could bring to bear.
What happened with, I've heard some rumblings about the search plane and the pilot, I think, or do you know much about that situation?
Yes, sir. It was a pilot / TFD, the tactical flight deputy. So our plane has two people in it. It's the pilot and the person behind him who is operating the high definition cameras, the FLIR, all that. And so there was a pilot / TFD who was normally assigned to work that day with a pilot. However, he was transferred the week before, I believe on January 25th. And he was transferred back to patrol, and as a result of that, he was not replaced. And so as a result of that, the plane was not able to be used immediately. From what I understand from people who worked that day, the helicopter was initially used because there was a pilot at the hangar and a helicopter pilot, so they jumped in the helicopter and responded. And that has some benefit. When you fly a helicopter around a missing person, oftentimes people, they go out of their house to go, what's going on? Why is their helicopter flying so low around the neighborhood? And so when you get people out of their houses, sometimes they'll see a disoriented elderly person or someone in need, a small child, and they'll call 911. However, eventually they called the TFD out that day, and then they flew back to the hangar, I understand, and then got the plane out of the hangar and got it overhead. But that took 2 or 3 hours from what I understand.
So did the sheriff have an issue? You said the person was transferred out.
Yes, sir.
Do you know why?
There's a minor demeanor complaints with the pilot. I think he'd been around 17 years, and there's some demeanor complaints in behavior with his interactions with some other people inside the unit that, in my opinion, could have been handled a little differently. He received informal discipline and then was transferred. I think that informal discipline and perhaps a special observation probation would have been more appropriate and would have kept that asset, which is that plane is the most valuable law enforcement asset in southern Arizona. And if it moved to Phoenix, it would be the most valuable asset in Phoenix. It's that good.
Yeah, I've seen it. Has the monitors in the back. It's
fantastic.
It's impressive. I saw some pictures.
It's fantastic.
Of it. Yeah.
And all the local agencies around us, whenever it's available, they want to use it for any of their cases. It's extremely valuable. And so I feel like handling that a little bit differently would have kept that plane ready and addressed the problem with the employee. But that decision was made differently.
So that deputy is a deputy, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he had 17 years of experience
flying
with that kind of work.
Yes, sir.
And he hasn't been able to work this case?
Correct. And he started as a TFD that we then made into a pilot. So he had 17 years in the air unit, I should clarify. Okay. But he'd been a long-time pilot, was a long-time TFD, and was very good at his job.
So he could be helpful right now?
Yes. That day, they would have been up quickly, and perhaps the searchers, because when this first came out, we initially believed that it was an elderly person who may have bumped their head or something and walked away. And so having that plane up with its capabilities would have allowed the search and rescue team to, in my opinion, more quickly realize that she's not in the area. And maybe we need to start looking somewhere else and thinking about this differently, especially considering the blood drops.
Tell me a little bit about, I read about a no confidence vote for the sheriff.
Yes, sir.
When was that?
That was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was in 2024, early 2024, I believe. And we took an anonymous no confidence vote or confidence vote, and it returned, except for one vote, it was unanimous no confidence in Sheriff Nanos. And that was done to kind of try and get the word out to the public, to the voting public in Pima County, that we've got some real issues in this department.
And that's I mean, so everyone except for one person in the union said no confidence.
Yes, sir. And my opinion is he probably didn't understand the vote and maybe made a mistake.
So what are the? I mean, so why don't they like him?
Well, I think former Chief Deputy 𝗏𝗏𝗃 kind of gave you some insight into the issue.
Not Brian getting all the tea.
What's going on with Sheriff Nanos? He has an ego that's
not him talking shit about Nanos.
Difficult to describe without sounding hyperbolic, and it drives a lot of his decision making. He's very retaliatory. Their favorite version of retaliation is through transfers, which has impacted nearly every unit.
He just said the Nanos guy, the sheriff involved in the case, that not him saying he's a retaliatory kind of man. Yo. I heard a lot of bad things actually about Chris, or what is it, Chris Nanos?
This department and decreased our overall readiness, in my opinion. Nearly every unit, the experience and expertise that was there was transferred out for whatever reason, and there are real impacts to that, and it lowered morale, and so there was a lot of hope that in the election in 2024 that we would have a change at leadership. And when that didn't come to pass, very close, but when it didn't come to pass, that's when we started seeing these mass exodus of deputies and detectives.
How close was it?
471 votes.
So he lost by 400. He won by 471 votes.
Yeah, 471, 481, less than 500.
Okay.
It was so close it had to have a mandatory recall per the Arizona state law.
And you mentioned the transfers, and you said it was like discipline by transfer. Is that what happened to you?
Oh, yes, sir. So when I became president in 2023 of our union, I initially decided, hey, let's take a morale poll. And so we did a morale poll. It came back pretty low, and it came back with some comments. And I thought that those comments would be beneficial to someone in a position of leadership. So I quietly compiled them on a professional letter and sent them to Sheriff Nanos, just put it in his basket, and he could have thrown it away. However, he took exception to that and responded by transferring me to a position to hurt my family. That was confirmed to me later by former Chief Deputy 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗏.
What do you mean to hurt your family?
So I was on midnights because I had small children and my wife worked during the day. They knew that, and about 7 months before, one of his chiefs threatened.
Wait, this interview turned into something else. He's like literally talking about Nanos right? Am I tripping? I thought they were still talking about the gloves and stuff. Now we're all up into the drama. Oh no.
Me to move me off midnights, and I explicitly reminded them that I'm on midnights for my family. But when I sent that letter, they responded by transferring me to a day shift so that I would not have that time with my children.
And did you get transferred to like an office job at that
Whoa.
time? Or?
Yes, sir.
So what you don't even, how much experience do you have?
This will be my 26th year. I am the second most senior sergeant in the department.
But you're not out on the street?
No. He has me taking calls, phone reports. So if your garden hose gets stolen and you want to make a phone report, I'm handling those currently.
Is that feel demeaning? I mean, with all the experience you have?
I'm the first and only sergeant in the history of our department ever working that position. It's normally reserved for injured deputies so they can still work while they're recovering from their injuries.
Dude. I would leave the department and get a lawyer because at this point, this is crazy. This is crazy drama right now. I'm not saying he's wrong. Chris Nanos probably is a DICK. I don't know. Allegedly, that's what I hear. But you know, I think this is taking from the whole concept of the interview here. Like hashtag where the fuck is Nancy? Hashtag I don't need no drama. Nanos is a beef with the FBI. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nanos is not going to be very happy about this interview.
So I've covered, you know, I've interviewed unions before, like with a lot of different things. And sometimes, a lot of times the unions don't like the boss.
Yes, sir.
You know, or it's about pay.
Yes, sir.
So that's not uncommon, but is this different?
But it could explain, and thank you to this man, that absolutely this case is a shit show, perhaps because of Nanos. So tomato, he might be giving us some insight, but also, homie, like, don't be talking shit about your boss on national YouTube, TV, news / social media. Like, because now you really gonna be fired, but you might be able to really get a lawyer for like harassment and retaliation. I don't know. It's expensive. I'm currently dealing with that. And, you know, it's hard. I think that's what he's implying. Nanos can't touch this guy anymore. He's president of the union. Apparently he's taking phone calls when he could be out there pew-pewing the bad guys. So that's already retaliation.
Do you think then other places where, because the unions always seem to have some kind of issue, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. And oftentimes you do hear of unions. They're always lobbying for increased pay. And certainly we lobby for that as well. But no one came to the Pima County Sheriff's Department because they were going to get paid the most. However, you know, I have a theory that you can either pay your employees poorly or treat them poorly, but you can't do both and expect them to stick around. And that's where we're at. And our pushback against leadership inside this department, I believe, is a large reason why we've grown so quickly. Like I said, we started in 2023 from nothing, and we're already now representing nearly the entire commission side of the department.
The other thing I found covering sheriff's offices around the country is, you know, sheriffs have a lot of power. I mean, they're elected.
Certainly.
So sometimes, or many times, the deputies love the sheriff. It's like the opposite of what you're saying.
Yes.
And even though maybe they don't get paid as much as they should or as much as they want, like the sheriffs have their back.
Yes.
And it's different than working for a police department where there's a city council and they almost, you know, the sheriff really protects the deputies.
Yes, sir.
But I guess that's not the case here.
No, and it's pretty unusual.
But it is around here, right? I mean, I've interviewed some other sheriffs. It seems like other sheriffs are really liked.
Yes, sir. And the counties that are next to us, their sheriffs are very popular. Pinal County is a great example. They're directly to our north, and their deputies adore their sheriff, from my understanding. Ours is different because of how he runs the department and the retaliation that they do to the deputies that speak up or even perceive.
I believe this
to be against Nanos, or even he heard them say something against him. Because of that, we had a couple dozen of them protest with me against the sheriff during the last race. And I am unaware of any other instance where deputies protested against their sheriff for an election race.
Wow.
But it happened last time. But it wasn't without risk and fear. A lot of those guys did it while wearing masks, just to protect themselves from retaliation.
Yeah, that's unusual, huh?
It is. The situation inside this department I would describe as is very unusual.
So the whole world is watching now because of Nancy Guthrie. I mean, do you think all of these issues that you've described have had an impact on the investigation?
100%. 100%. The experience level inside our CID. Like I said, they're hardworking people, but everybody needs mentors. You know, I cannot imagine starting as a new deputy or when I was in as a detective and not having
He's like, that's why this is taking so long.
Mentors to help me out. You need that. They make you better. And when you have questions or when you have a high-profile case, they're the ones that you want to go to. But from what I understand and what I'm being told, there's not a lot of that right now. Like I said, we're a very young department. 45% of our commissioned deputies and detectives have less than 5 years on. We're very young because of this turnover, and it's having a real impact. And when we need that expertise, that seniority the most during high-profile incidents like this, they're simply not there. So I believe it is having an impact.
Couldn't the sheriff have said in the beginning, look, this is a complicated case? Even the FBI experts around the country have said, we've never even seen anything like this. I mean, they've never seen a kidnapping like this. Couldn't he have said, we're going to hand this over to the FBI because like this needs another level of expertise? I don't think that would have made him look bad. No, they could have still helped and assisted and been a part of it.
I agree. I think the right decision, and there's also different aspects of this as well. By deciding early to turn this over to the FBI and us take a supportive role to them, I think it would have been the best decision, in my opinion, for the Guthrie family, but also for our detectives and Pima County citizens. Like, from what I understand, the entirety of...
He's saying how that department is run could be affecting somehow the case. I believe that. Yeah, but this is not stuff you say on the Brian Enton show. Not in the middle of investigation, yo. No, he's like someone who works in the department and he works with the sheriff. And he's saying that the sheriff is a DICK and he retaliates on people and that he feels it affects how this case is being run. I kind of like this man.
CID is being tasked with helping on this case, all of them. They still have other cases that aren't being worked as well as they could be. And the bad guys aren't giving us a break because we're working this case, hoping to find Nancy. The calls and the crimes are still coming in. They're still happening. So these cases are getting put on the back burner from what they otherwise would be if this was turned over to the FBI, who could use their massive assets, resources, and personnel to work it with.
Basically, Nanos doesn't want to give it over to the FBI, but this guy's like, no, he needs to at this point.
Us in an assisting role. And then we could also then go back to a normal order of business to some extent and work some of these other cases that are happening in Pima County.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there anything else I'm leaving out that you think is important that people should know? I mean, because again, you're in a unique role where you can speak.
Right.
And we have a hard time, getting information now because people will...
If he doesn't have a job tomorrow or on Tuesday, like, I will be really upset.
Get in trouble.
Yes, and that fear is real.
Like, for real.
The fear is very real because they know what would happen. Again, I just want to reiterate that our detectives, they are busting their butt to try and solve this case and find Nancy and try and bring her home, hopefully safe to her family. They're putting in tons of hours and burning the candle at both ends. And so I'd just really like to take the opportunity to thank them for all their hard work. They're great guys. And we'd like to just convey to everybody that please don't hold us accountable for some of the decisions made by
the pettiness. He's like, thank everybody working the case except my boss.
Leaders. We're trying.
The sheriff.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Nice
your
to meet
time very much. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to yikes. We're involved in the drama now. I think Abuelita mentioned it earlier. Someone left this card on Nancy's door. I think it was before or after. I think it was after the case started. It says Deborah M., Adult Investigator, Adult Protective Services. Why would someone be leaving this at Nancy's door? I guess the timing would matter, right? I guess it was after she was abducted. Maybe it wasn't. I know, it's weird. If that was left there before, I'd have major concerns. Adult protective services? Protection from whom? Your daughters, question mark, your family, question mark, your son-in-law, question mark, a stranger, question mark. I don't know. I'm sure maybe they contacted law enforcement contacted them. Let me see. I don't think there's been any recent updates as we've been live literally about Nancy. I really don't. Let me refresh. At this point, like I'm really only interested in Brian Enton. Yeah, there's nothing. There's nothing. Nothing on Nancy. So I wonder if Nancy has any power of attorneys on her behalf. I wonder like what drama or what familial issues were going on beforehand, you know? Hey, Unforgivable, just got here, heard somewhere that neighbor overheard disagreement between Annie and Nancy. So I wonder if, well, yeah. Why would someone leave that at her door? That's a very interesting thing. Didn't they find a car or something? They towed, I thought it was Annie's car and Nancy's car. Listen, if we're going through all of this, and then we find out it was Annie, I'm gonna be really pissed. Like they've been giving us like high blood pressure for the last 2 weeks. Between this and Epstein, I'm like, you know what? That's why I was like, I didn't want to do Nancy tonight, but I figured we could just touch base on it. They were investigating elder abuse complaint. Exactly, abuelita. So by who? Question mark, question mark. Annie? I don't know, you guys. I know this is like really negative to say, and we might not agree, but like I still think it was someone close to the family. It's like the further they get away from that notion, the closer I think that I'm right. I'm like, you're looking at gloves being dropped, you're looking at this, you're looking at that, you're arresting the wrong people. Like, but I guess maybe they've looked into them, right? The family, you would think by now they'd be vetted out. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. It could still be someone in the family. She never made it home. No, I don't think she made it home either. It's like the Sebastian Rogers case. I don't think he made it home after, where did they go to eat? After that restaurant, I forget. They're right in front of them and they're missing it, I think. I really do. And sadly, I don't think Nancy's with us anymore. And if she is, it was a setup. It was a distraction. Because the whole damn country is literally looking for Nancy. So Culver's. Yeah, and what was that thing at Culver's? Exactly. Who's pig? Are they related? Do they know someone? Like what? What's going on with Culver's? Why is the family so quiet? Why are you asking for the kidnapper to bring your mom back? They already are not. You saw that 2 weeks. Why are you sitting there making a video about want? Please bring her back. I can accept and I have empathy for her that she's going through it. But like, why are you making a video telling the kidnappers to bring your mom back when they're not going to do that? Like, they haven't done it for 2 weeks. Unless you give the money and unless they're playing you, why are you begging of that? I'm not trying to shut her down, but I think there's a better way to handle the situation and looking for your mother. Like, I think sitting behind the scenes and then making a video about please bring her back. The people who you're saying please bring her back, they don't care. They're not good humans like us. They're not sitting there feeling bad for you, thinking like we should just drop Nancy back off because Savannah's really upset. Like, said no one ever who kidnapped someone for 6 million Bitcoin. 6 million Bitcoin. Do the math. Depends, because Bitcoin, I guess, changes on a daily basis. I don't know. Not a Bitcoin kind of girl, but maybe I should be. Notice Savannah's not with her sister. No. They haven't been the last 3, was it 3 or 2 posts? And he's not reaching out to media. And everyone's watching them too. So you have to think like, oh, are they not even going out to the grocery store? Like, what's going on here? When Cash finds her alive, we know it was a setup. As long as she is alive, it doesn't matter. Okay. Be honest. We all hope for her to be alive. We all want that. We truly want that. I don't think any one of us here wishes otherwise. But like, do you really believe she's alive after 15 days? We don't know that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess so. Yeah, I guess we don't. They could be keeping a lot from us too. Maybe they did pay the ransom. But still no Nancy. So I guess if they paid, then they got played. Because if they paid, they would have an update on Nancy now, right? When was the last ransom? Last Friday? That was the last, was it last Friday? The official note? I mean, I don't know if I would consider the last one from a couple days ago real, but I guess if Harvey from TMZ says it is. So what, it's been like a week since a ransom note? If the FBI was not involved with the Bitcoin, the sheriff's office 100% effed it up. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't have a good feeling about it. I don't. But I do wish the best for her. So many ransoms, so much stuff going on, and now, and you know, and then the department's going at it with each other, and then what is it going to be tomorrow? You know, what is it going to be? So we've been live 2 hours. I think I've covered everything that's recently been released on Nancy. There's nothing on X. So I might just end the live and do an after dark, like a hangout. The FBI admits searchers littered. Oh, wow. Littered the Nancy Guthrie crime scene, and now they don't want you to trust the DNA. The crime scene wasn't preserved. It was contaminated. People walking through the area, removing gloves, throwing them into field and along roadsides. Then after that, the FBI says one glove found 2 miles away contains unknown male DNA and appears to be a match. The subject in the surveillance footage. That DNA is now being processed by the FBI. This is 𝗏𝗃 Patel's FBI. They're handling the evidence. If searchers were literally littering the crime scene, how does anyone know which DNA belongs to a suspect and which belongs to people trampling through the evidence? Is this gross incompetence or the perfect built-in excuse when the evidence doesn't line up? So that's what people are thinking. Geez, we're relying on TMZ. I know. Yeah, no, thank you guys for being here. I just figured we would touch base really quick. Because we've been going live late on Nancy Grace, but there's not too much today. So I figured we could maybe do an after dark and have some fun tonight? Question mark, question mark. Or are we not looking for trouble? Because I'm always looking for trouble. Can Savannah sue the sheriff? Yeah, she can. I need to get into that case, Evie. I think it's a former cop. You know, if it was somebody, thank you, Green Eyed. If it was somebody in the family, I'd give him kudos though. Like, damn, that's pretty good for about 15 days. How careless can you be with those gloves? You guys, we thought it was weird. When Brian Enton was on the crime scene and there was blood on the floor, usually crime scene cleanup crews don't leave that there. They take what they need, put it into evidence, whatever, and then they clean it up. The fact that they didn't clean it up, nor the family went and cleaned it up, it really blows my mind. Like, it really blows my mind. And maybe we don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but if that was my mom's house, you bet your ass I would be on them. Like, what do you mean? You just called the pool guy and you left the blood out there. Like, what do you mean? And there's 100 million news sites. Like, it's better not to turn out like that one little girl. Ugh. I don't know. They're saying 𝗠𝗲𝗹𝗆𝗆 Ramsey's a victim of Epstein. I don't know. Maybe we should deep dive that. Crazy. So let's hope we get, that's littering. It's contaminating the scene. Dude, even I know that. I'm a science major and we work in science labs. And like, even if I had my pencil out and if one of my professors sees it, they're like, that's contamination. So I'm shocked that people even treat real life crime scenes like this. Or is this Epstein related? Because Savannah and her husband are related to Epstein. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. And let's just hope that Nancy's found. At the end of the day, that's what I guess we're all hoping for and why we're here. Let's hope that Nancy's found alive and well. I bet the glove was like a plant like OJ. Glove was for Mark. Yeah, a lot of people have been relating. Who's related to Epstein? Savannah Guthrie. She's in the Epstein files, her and her husband. Not like blood related. That's been my theory all along. Really? Unforgivable? Yeah, the glove could have been planted. There's a little girl missing, turned out to be an accident. She was rolled up in the blanket in her own bed. Yeah, no, not an accident. Prayers to Nancy. Yeah. So let's end this live. I'm gonna maybe get more drinks and maybe we can do an after dark. I'm gonna go for that. So shout out to you guys for being here. Hit the like button. We did Epstein live earlier. We did Jodi Arias. My Epstein live is already being demonetized. I already got the message. YouTube is like, we don't like it. I got it right when I finished the live. So that kind of sucks. Oh my God, I never got my beer. I guess you saved it. There's an Ellen show with Savannah. Yeah. Wait, is that one of the ones we watched, Abuelita? I don't know. We might have watched it. But yeah, I'll be live for an after dark. And if you guys go to bed and I don't see you, then I'll see you tomorrow. But I'm going to definitely try to do a hangout live tonight. So definitely tap that like button on your way out for your girl. And I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for being here.